Saturdays. Aren't they just sighfully wonderful? Or for you, are they busy? I'm having a sighfully wonderful because when it comes to Saturnian unmitigated disaster or unmitigated success, I kind of like to go down the success route, and for me today is going to be a soft Saturday. I had a day off yesterday. I decided to take some time for myself. It was Fun Friday after all, Friday fun. And for me the fun was going out, listening to my book and having a good long walk. In a little bit of rain, but that's no harm. Saturn. Now, he's an interesting chap, this planet. Astrologically, and I don't know much about astrological things, apart from my star sign and the fact that I seem to live up to it quite happily, or down to it, depending on how you want to look at it. This idea of either being a complete success or a complete failure, I found that out a long time ago. I was very, very young. And even I don't remember when that was. I just know I was very, very young. And so I was slightly impressionable. Because I was looking for reasons, looking for ideas. I was looking for who I am. And of course, that always brings a mixed bundle of joys. So I decided that the Saturnian thing and the numerological thing, the 8, was also the same way. Had to be. Interestingly, changing my name didn't make things that much different. Which was when I got married, of course. And being the impressionable young person that I was, and listening to my elders at one point, who said to me, "Don't get married until you're at least 45. So I added 5 years onto that. I'd managed to keep myself free for that length of time. Well, as free as you can be in this culture of you got to get a job, you got to get married, you got to have kids, you got to do this, you got to do that. Why? It's so time consuming. And it involves other people. And of course, at that time, other people and me were not the best of compadres. That's why I preferred animals. I went for a job interview once and I was told that this is a people practice, and I said, well, keep the people away from me and we'll be fine. And he thought I was joking. Until one day, one of the clients came in, beautiful big Belgian Shepherd, and he was going to South Africa with his mum. Unfortunately, she wasn't very good with blood, and he had to have a blood test for his rabies and his vaccinations and things. And I was in the back in the theatre, and all I heard was, "Leslie, Leslie!" And I thought, oh my goodness, what's happened? So I dropped everything and just bolted into the consulting room. And there before me was the client lying on the floor, the boss, 6'4" of him, up against the wall. Don't know what to do. Why is she on the floor? She fainted. I didn't do anything. I just took some blood. But the dog was because she still had hold of his chain, his choke chain. So I stepped over her, took the chain out of her hand and walked the dog over her and said, "I've got the dog. You're the people person. You deal with the person." And walked away. I think that was when he got the idea that I was actually not joking. It's funny because the theatre and the kennels were my sanctuary. animals were my sanctuary for a long, long time. And that wasn't a bad thing. It was right for me. And this is why when people say, oh, but don't you think that it would have been different had you got married earlier? Why? Why would I want to do that? I would probably be divorced by now. Or widowed and in prison for it. People were stressors for me. It was very stressful to be around people. They lied. They never meant what they said. Or when they said it, they meant something entirely different. And it was very hard to read them, except when they were being angry. And that can happen a lot, and anger is brought forward in so many different ways. It's expressed in so many different ways. And one of the worst ways to express it is the silent anger, which actually builds stress, not just in yourself, but all around. Anyone who comes into that sphere of influence is going to feel that stress. You know when someone is broiling underneath. You know what's going on. But if you don't know what's the reason for it, where it's coming from, or indeed where it's being aimed at, it's very easy to take it on yourself. Was it something I did? Was it something I said? And even although you probably know inside you that it wasn't you at all, you've just come into the room, you haven't seen them, you haven't been anywhere near them for hours, maybe even a day or so. And now it's interesting because a lot of it can be done via Zoom or Skype or FaceTime or WhatsApp or whatever platform you're using. People can be sitting there in an absolute internal stushy. And whoever's on the other side will get the brunt. Because sometimes we don't have ways to vent. So I'm going to give you a little tip. There are ways to vent. There are ways to vent naturally. There are ways to vent that you can actually dig a hole and scream your obscenities and your angsts and everything into it, and then put the earth on top and ask very gently if the earth would mind just dealing with that and transforming it into something else. Transfiguration of anger into a new and different energy, giving it back to the universe so the universe can change it and allow it to dissipate naturally. Or you can dance it. I kind of like that one. You can start off with a mad whirling dervish and end up in a very slow kind of waltz, almost a trance. And remember, you're always in one kind of trance or other. Yeah, it's interesting to know that you can have an anger trance, isn't it? Anger's an emotion, as is fear. But anger is usually, and I personally think it's always seated in fear. Fearful of loss of control, fearful of loss of face, fearful of someone else's opinion. What's the point? It only drains you and leaves a mess in the corner, like an untrained puppy. Or if you're very unlucky, an untrained Great Dane, and I've been there. So when you're thinking of your Saturday sanctuary, and your Saturday and your Saturns, and the Saturnian ways, remember you have a choice. Even when you're in the unmitigated disaster zone, It really is your choice as to how you look at it, how you take it, how you deal with it, how you vocalise it. And yes, you will. We all do. I have done it myself. Slip back into the zone of anger, of the how dare yous, of the how can you not hear what I'm saying, which then makes you shout. Raise your voice a little bit. Think though how that power, and it is a power, it's a real force of nature that's coming out of you. It's coming deep from your hara, which is below your belly button, and coming right up through and out through your mouth. But it's affecting everything else at the same time. It's affecting the way you're thinking, it's affecting the way you're breathing, it's affecting the way that your eyes, your pupils are dilating or focusing pinpoint right down. It's affecting your physiology. Therefore it's having an effect on every part of you. So when you do slip into that, and you're human, and we're in situations where we can't really control everything that we would like to be able to control. Isn't that always the case though? So when you do slip into that, make a point of saying to your universal mind, when I do, or if I do the next time, make me aware. Tap me on my spiritual shoulder, my auric shoulder, and say, change your mind now. Shift the shape of your thoughts now. Change your perspective. Breathe. It's not going to be simple. It's not going to be just like that. But it can be if you practice enough. And that doesn't mean that I'm telling you to get angry all the time so you can practice. But think about it, when you feel yourself, and there is a point where you can feel it starting, you get this tightening or darkening or whatever it is for you. However it presents itself. But don't suppress. Dissipate, but do not suppress. Because then it just sits there like indigestion. And sometimes there's no Rennie or other antacids are available. Look after yourselves. Find sanctuary every day. Take some time out to meditate or just have nothing at all on your mind. And that's another exercise. Allow yourself to be human. Allow yourself to understand that we have emotions for a reason. Anger comes when our adrenaline starts pumping and it starts getting in there because, again, when I say it's fear-based, it's the fight or flight hormone, and it goes in there and it gets you tense, it gets you ready to explode into action. Sometimes the only thing that explodes into action is the thoughts that you're not filtering through anything and it's just coming straight out. And that's going to make marks when it does. Unless you work on it. Work on the dissipation of it before it gets to coming out of your mouth in that volume, in that way. And just become quiet. Don't brew. Don't moulder. Just breathe. Go away and you can cut into a lemon and give it to the lemon and then bury the lemon. You can go outside and just gift it to the air. I've done it. I've gone outside and had a scream. It's there for a purpose. It's there to let you know that there's a shift in your physiology, that there's something going on that you need to pay attention to. But it doesn't mean that you have to let the dogs loose. You just don't need to attack all the time. You can stand your ground and you can be assertive. And you can just say, no, I don't want this. This is not for me. It may well be that there's so much feeling attached to that you can't really explain why it's not for you. That's not the issue. The issue is that you're saying, it's not for me. And that should be respected. But that's another story. So have a great Saturday. Be well, be blessed, be loved. Especially by yourself, for yourself. Deep sigh and let it go.